Hello everyone, this is Mark from TurboQuale Developer Network, and today I'm going to be starting off with my C++ series, and we are going to be using Dev-CPP for the entire series. However, you can use any compiler or IDE as you like. As the code doesn't change, it stays the same. So, as you can see, I have Dev-CPP open. You can either press Ctrl N or go to File, New, Source File. We're not going. If you click on Project, we're gonna get Windows application, console application, static library, DLL, empty project. Technically we are creating a console application, but I prefer just to press Ctrl N and get my code file, whatever. So, okay, in C++, there's something called a IO stream, and a IO stream stands for the input and output stream or library, and it's part of the C++ standard library. And this C++ standard library allows us to use things like cout, cin, and it's all defined in that header. And you probably don't know what cout and cin is, and you're probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about. But at the end of this tutorial, or in a few tutorials, if you're a slow learner, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So we have to include that file to our project, and it's actually not as hard as you think. You have to do a hashtag, and then you have to write include, and then our header, and we have to surround that with a less than sign and a more than sign. And then aside those less than and more than signs, we're gonna write IO string. And technically you can put .h for .header, but you don't have to. And now we've done that, we have to write another line underneath it, and that is called a namespace. And we're going to be using namespace std. No, that does not mean what you think it means. It means standard. So we're going to write using, if I can type, using namespace std, and then we have to write a semicolon at the end. Basically, okay, std basically tells us that we're working in the std namespace, and basically by doing this we don't have to specify std every single time we create a function or something like that. And I'll explain what I mean by that at the end, or in a minute when I'm typing some code. Okay, so we've configured what library we're using, and we've told it, the compiler, what namespace we're using. So now we're going to have to tell it where to start the application. And once again, it's actually pretty easy. All you have to do is write int, or you can write void name, and then you can do you can open brackets and close it. Then you want to do a new line, and you want to open up your curly brace and end it. Or if you want, you can start your curly brace after the end bracket, but I prefer to do it this way. Okay, int main is different to void. Void basically tells it that it doesn't want to return any arguments, and actually I'll explain when I've typed in how to print text in a minute. But if you just write int main, then it's telling it that it needs an argument, and this argument is basically telling the application that when it gets to the line of code telling it there's no arguments, then it's basically telling the compiler or the application or whatever that everything has run correctly and there's no errors or anything wrong. Okay, so we're going to get started on the basics. Okay, so firstly we've configured what namespace and library we're using, and we've told the compiler where to start the application. And now we're going to print some text. So we're going to start off by writing cout less than, which is an insertion operators, space, and then we're going to do speech marks, and we're going to end them, and inside there we're going to enter hello world or whatever text you want, and then we're going to write a semicolon at the end. Okay, cout is part of the iostream standard library, and without using this library in the standard C++ library, we wouldn't be able to use this function. And that is why making an operating system, I know that's totally irrelevant, but that is why it's so hard to print text, and you have to do loads and loads of different complex stuff, because you have to manually create the text function. This is all you need to create an application. However, you won't be able to see your application, and I'm going to explain that now. So if we hit this weird Windows button here, or go to debug and execute and compile and run, our application is gonna build/compile, and then it's gonna debug. And we have to save our project first. I'm gonna call it untitled2, and here it's gonna compile. It actually does it pretty quickly. I'm just gonna let it do what it's doing. Okay, yeah, I get that. Hold on a second. You can't write void main like that. You have to write int main. And yeah, and I'm gonna compile and run again. Sorry, I forgot. And now our application quickly. I don't know if you saw it on the recorder, but it opened and then it closed instantly. And that's because we haven't told the application to pause, so we can view the text and then to close when we press a key. So after the cout line of code, we want to write system open brackets, open speech marks, pause, close speech marks and close bracket, and then a semicolon. And this is going to tell it to pause the application so we can read the text and interact with the application. And now I'm going to compile and run, or I can press F9. And we should now have our application pop up. I'm still waiting for it to. For some reason it's being slow. Why can't it just pop up? Hold on a second. I don't know why it isn't popping up. There aren't any errors, because if there were any errors then it would tell me. I'm gonna compile and run again. Okay, our application isn't opening for some obscure reason. I'm going to go into... Okay, I'm actually going to pause the video and see why it isn't opening. I think it might be my computer. I'm going to do something quickly. I know why it isn't opening. It isn't to do with the C++ code. It's to do with my computer, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I figured out why my application wasn't opening. It wasn't to do with Dev-CPP. instead of my computer. So I will be debugging from the folder where I saved my application, which is in my document. Okay, so if I debug, I've got an external monitor, so I'm going to go over to it and open up my application. Okay, as you can see, it says hello world, and without a space, it just says press any key to continue. And if I press a key, it's gonna close down, and that's because we haven't told it to put the press any key to continue or exit on a new line. So before I go any further, you're probably wondering what cout stands for, and it actually stands for console output. And cout is just a replacement for print format or formatted, which is in C programming. So if I do another line of code printing text, I'm going to type cout, which stands for console output. My insertion operators, hey, hello to the community of TurboQuale developer network, I don't know, and then I do my semicolon, and I compile my application. I'm not going to compile and run, because as we already know, my computer doesn't like me, and it won't debug my application. And now I'm going to close that, open it up, and we get it all jumbled up together. So if you want to make it as a new line, before